All right, gang, we are in Gladewater, Texas, and we are at the Richard Fenton Gymnasium. It's the old Gladewater High School Gymnasium. Now, what does this have to do with Elvis, you might ask? Well, quite a bit, actually. On April 30th, 1955, the Louisiana Hayride had a performance here. If you don't know what the Louisiana Hayride is, it was basically a big traveling concert that they would put together that would be broadcast. This particular concert that they performed here was broadcast in 28 states on 198 radio stations. This was a big deal. Elvis was only 19 or 20 at the time, and they sold, this building holds 2,500 people. There was over 3,000 people showed up for the show. Everybody got to be jammed inside to see the show, but Elvis sang 2 songs that night. And the Louisiana Hayride would have usually anywhere from 30 to 40 performers performing during a concert. This particular night they had 40 performers, and it was headlined by Elvis and Jim Reeves. At the time, they were billing Elvis as the boppin' hillbilly because of the way he would dance while he performed, and he became famous at that time for his voice, the way he would dance on stage, and his unusual arrangements in his music, which later became known as rock and roll. Now obviously the gymnasium is no longer in use, but it was a big night for this small town, and the Louisiana Hayride was a big deal. I mean, every musician wanted to be on the Louisiana Hayride. It was broadcast everywhere. You got on there, you had a chance of becoming a really popular performer. And when Elvis appeared that night, a man who was here that night by the name of Tom Perryman, who had become very good friends with Elvis, was here also. Tom Perryman was a local DJ here at KSIJ Radio, and he was very influential in Elvis's career. And Elvis kind of looked at him almost like a stepfather. And the way that came about was that Tom had helped Elvis out of a really bad situation, and that's part of the reason that Elvis ended up here in this area, Gladewater of East Texas, performing in towns like Gilmer and Gladewater and Hawkins and Big Sandy, and you know, all of these small East Texas towns. And Elvis got a foothold here and started becoming popular, and it's part of what led to his national fame. So we're going to walk around and see if we can't get a little better look at this building, see if we can still see a little bit of the inside. Now you guys are going to have a better view of this than I am, because I'm reaching up way above my head. Hopefully there's something good in there. We'll walk over to this end too and see if we can't see in here. Let me see if I can get it. There we go. Now when Elvis appeared in 1955 at this gymnasium, the gymnasium was only a year old. It had been built the previous year at a cost of $200,000. So, and it's still here. It does not appear that they're using it for anything anymore. The high school has a newer gymnasium, I believe, but we'll check out and see if there's any chance we can get inside and look around. This would have been the entrance to the gymnasium when the Louisiana Hayride was here. And this appears to be the ticket booth, but from what we understand, it was sold out before the show ever began, so they may not have used the ticket booth there. You can see a little bit of the inside.
Cool. Cool. Reminds me of my high school.
These doors are locked. We just checked them, and so we won't be able to get in. Lots of dirt dauber nests here today.
Yeah. Talking about like,
So,
my gosh.
yeah, if you're scared of flying bugs, this is not the place for you. Looks like some of the windows have been broken out and just covered with steel siding. See if we can't see in this window here. See if we can see down the hallway here. Doesn't look like we're going to be able to see inside the gymnasium itself, but this would have been the area just outside the gymnasium.
Wow. And that door's open to the gym. I bet that was like a concession stand over there. See on the right?
Yeah.
And then they had like all the awards and stuff in the left there, that glass case.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
Neat.
Good old days.
We're going to head over to the old KSIJ studio, which we hear is still there. Okay, gang, we are at 800 East Broadway, also known as Highway 80 in Gladewater, and this was the building where KSIJ radio would broadcast from. And their star DJ was a man named Tom Perryman, who became very good friends with Elvis Presley. And this was during a time that Elvis had just released some of his first singles, like That's All Right Mama and Blue Moon of Kentucky. And Elvis was just getting some traction and starting to become a little bit famous. And the way that Elvis and Tom became good friends was kind of a strange incident that happened. Elvis had a man who was booking concerts for him and performances, and he had booked Elvis to appear in Shreveport, Louisiana at a few different concerts or performances. And so Elvis and his band made the trip from Memphis to Louisiana to perform. When they got there, they found out that the guy that was booking concerts for them had gotten crossways with the promoters, and their shows had been canceled. So now they're stuck in Shreveport with no money, no way to pay for their motel room, and no way to go anywhere else, no way to get back home. Well, somebody got the idea of contacting Tom Perryman, who was a DJ here in Gladewater, and pulled a favor and asked Tom, is there any place that you know of that this young man can perform? Now, Tom had never seen Elvis, didn't know much about him. All he knew that it was a band called Elvis Presley. So Tom started searching and found a club here in town called the Mint Club, or the Mint Room, and they would let Elvis perform. So he contacted Elvis in Shreveport, said, get your butt down here and we'll get you into a place where you can perform and make some money so you can make enough money to go back home to Memphis. Well, the Mint Club was a small place, and they had, from what I understand, when you'd walk in, they had a dance floor on the right hand front of the building, and then on the left side was a bar, and then towards the back was a wooden stage. And on that wooden stage they had a podium where the mic would go, and the podium was shaped like a cat, a black cat with its mouth open, and inside the mouth they had a yellow light that would glow, and that's where people would leave tips for the band. And Elvis Presley and his band performed that night for tips. At the end of the night, they had made $90. And also by the end of the night, he and Tom Perryman had become good friends. And Elvis ended up staying in the Gladewater area and actually stayed at Tom Perryman's house. Tom was married to a wonderful lady named Billy, and Billy would cook for the band and Elvis at night. And she said that Elvis had a great appetite. He loved eating almost anything, but he especially loved my banana pudding. She called it her Nana pudding. We're gonna put that recipe here on the screen for you if you'd like to have the recipe. But Elvis also would rock their children to bed at night on a lounge chair. And we found that lounge chair. So we're going to show you the lounge chair where Elvis would actually rock these children to bed at night. And Elvis ended up performing at several different facilities here in Gladewater. He spent a lot of time in East Texas. And this was the studio where Tom Perryman worked and became well known. And we're going to see if we can get inside, because from what we understand, there is still a recording studio up on the top floor. So we shall see.
It's coming down.
Oh wow, look at that.
It's working. I haven't ever seen. Jeez, you guys. Yeah, the studio was on the 4th floor.
And from what we understand, this is now an apartment complex, but there is a recording studio up on the top floor where KSIJ used to
Let's see.
Used to be.
Look at this old one. There's a boat.
This is a little bitty elevator, guys. Wow.
This is cool. Going back in time. You see? It's not even connected, you guys.
Well, hope we don't get stuck then.
Okay. Yeah.
The floors aren't lighting up. Oh, there we go.
Okay.
4th floor. Let's go outside and see if we can see you guys. Oh, cool.
This is awesome. Let's see.
Building manager. Guys, this is the front door to KSIJ Radio Show House main studio. Unfortunately, the gentleman that operates the studio is not here today, so it's locked, but they do have the original call letters in the tile inside the studio. And we spoke with the owner a few minutes ago, and she did confirm that all of the tile here is original. That this is the same tile floor that Elvis would walk on when he would come here to the studio. And the owner said that there's actually 20 apartments here, and they left as much of it original as possible. So all of the bathrooms have, you know, the pink tile, or the what would you say, the
yellow, salmon.
Yeah, the 1950 style tile and everything, but it's all been refurbished and it's beautiful. This would be a really cool place to stay. But this is where a lot of Elvis's early history happened. And Elvis used to sit inside this studio while Tom was on air. Elvis would just lay out on the floor, from what we understood, and he would read comic books. You have to remember that Elvis was only 19 years old at the time. So he was pretty much a baby. But anyhow, this is where Elvis got his start, guys.
Cool.
Head over to Tom and Billy Perryman's home that they lived in while Elvis was here, and it's also the home that Elvis stayed in with them. And when we went to the Gladewater Museum here, they didn't even know Tom Perryman's address, but they were able to look it up, and through some old records they found the actual address of the home. So this may be the first time this home has ever appeared on YouTube.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go check it out. See you in a minute. All right, here's one more look at the outside of the old KSIJ studios in Gladewater for you guys. All right, gang, we are at 108 Paul Street in Gladewater, Texas. And this was the home of Tom and Billy Perryman. And Tom, of course, legendary disc jockey and promoter. When Tom helped Elvis get out of a bad situation where he needed some money in order to make it back to Memphis, Tennessee, during that time when Elvis was appearing at concerts here and didn't have a lot of money, he would stay in this home with Tom and his wife Billy. This is where the famous banana pudding recipe came from. And Elvis would stay here with his band, and at night he would rock Tom and Billy's children to sleep on their sofa lounge, kind of a lounge chair. Neat looking piece of furniture, which we'll show you in just a moment. But this was the location where Elvis stayed. This little house here, which is not in such good shape now, and actually looks like it may be abandoned. But I'm not sure, because there are some bicycles on the side of the house that look like they may be chained or locked up to the house itself. And it says posted, no trespassing, keep out. So I'm not going to be able to get any closer than this. But yeah, you can see the bicycles there on the side of the house. Wow. Historical home. Most people don't even realize the significance that it has in Elvis's career. Somebody needs to get together and put a society together to save this home. This lounge chair here was owned by Billy and Tom Perryman. They had this lounge chair in their home when Elvis would stay there occasionally, and Elvis used to rock their children to sleep at night on this chair.
That's right.
This was the register, I guess, when Elvis checked in at the Resmore Motel here in Gladewater. All right, now after Elvis started to make some money here in Gladewater, he moved into the Brooking Resmore Motel. That's where we're at now. And from what we understand, his favorite room to stay in here was room number 104. And this is really a neat place. I'm gonna head over here to the staircase and see if I can't go down the staircase and get a little further back so you guys can get a better look at this. This is no longer a motel, it's an apartment complex. But we spoke with somebody who's staying in apartment number 104 and explained to them the reason that we were here. They had no idea that Elvis had stayed in their room. So they allowed us, or are going to allow us, to walk around and show the front door. Then they were told that Elvis stayed here, but they weren't sure if it was in their apartment. They had pointed over to this section over here and said that they had heard that Elvis had stayed back over here. So over the years, they may have been renumbered, I'm not sure. But this apartment right here on this side was Elvis's motel room. And see, it is number 104. Isn't that neat? And it's still here today. And we're gonna walk over to this other side where she said that she had heard Elvis may have stayed, just to point these out also, because it may have been one of these other rooms if they've been renumbered. But these are neat looking apartments. They're old, but they're still nice looking. I mean, and they're still being used.
There's like 402.
Yeah, so if it wasn't their apartment over there that he stayed at, it would have been one of these. So if Elvis was kind of reclusive, which I don't know him to have been, it may have been over in this unit here. Okay guys, a couple things I'd like to add here about Elvis staying with the Perrymans. Billy Perryman was asked what she thought about Elvis. And she said, well, when I first met him, he was a little bit greasy, but he had good manners. He always called me Mrs. Perryman and always called Tom, my husband, Tom. He was always very polite, never complained, and was a good young man. Something else that she had mentioned was that Elvis would call his mother every day. That he had a deep connection to his mother, and he would call to make sure that she was okay every day while he traveled. Anyhow, let's get on to the next site. Okay guys, we're off of Highway 271 just outside of Gladewater, Texas, And right along this stretch of road here, actually this piece of property, was where the Mint Club was located. And from what we've been able to discern, the Mint Club sat right here. And this was the club where Elvis earned enough money to be able to make it back home through tips. Now, sometime after 1995, the building was purchased by a preacher who decided to turn the club into a church. And the building, he had the building moved almost directly across the street in this brush over here. And the building is still inside there. We're gonna go over there and see if we can't find it. But he did hold some church services there. He had planned to completely restore the building. It ended up never happening. In fact, from what we understand, the bar was torn out of the building and the stage was torn out of the building and just thrown off to the side somewhere in the brush over there and left to rot. But this area right here in just outside of Gladewater was kind of known as the bad part of town, I guess you'd say, because you can see this building directly in front of us here is Lambert's Liquor. Back in 1954 and 55, that was H&L Liquor, and that is one of the original buildings. None of the nightclubs are here anymore except for the remains of the Mint Club, which we're going to go check out across the street here in just a moment. Some of the names of the other clubs that were here right on this stretch of highway. Of course, the Mint Club, the Roundup, the Blue Jean Club, the Green Frog, the Wagon Wheel, the Idle Hour, and the Eagle Club. And the Green Frog sat right next to Lambert's Liquor on the corner down there, and they would have a green frog that would move back and forth and wave at people. And this was the only place in this area where you could drink. So it sat on kind of like unincorporated land right on the edge of one county going into another county. And so this was, you know, if you would probably not have too good a name if you hung out at these clubs back then. But let's walk over and see if we can't find the remains of the Mint Club. Okay guys, I have located the Mint Club, and being the goofball that I am, I wore shorts today, so, and from what I understand, there's a lot of poison oak and thorns in this area. So, but the Mint Club, the remains of it sit directly behind this tree. And I'm gonna see if there's a better way of getting in there, because I want to see it. Now, the original Mint Club burned down sometime in the 1970s and was rebuilt. So this is the rebuilt version of the Mint Club. But we'll see if we can't get a better look at it. All right, guys, I'm trying to get back here to it. I just know I'm gonna end up with poison oak or poison ivy. Yuck. Let's see. All right, here's something having to do with the building here. Janet told me to watch out for leaves of 3, because that would be poison ivy or poison oak, I guess. I don't know. But that's the building there. That is the old Mint Club. My goodness, I don't know how anybody would get back here to it. Boy, I wish it was winter time and these plants had all stopped blooming. But that's the Mint Club there, guys, and I don't think I'm going to be able to get much further, unfortunately. All right, we got, these are leaves of 3 here, so yeah. Yikes. There we go. What That would have been the club that Elvis appeared at. And from what we were told, the Mint Club would only hold about 50 people. So it was not a real big club. Alright guys, I found another way in here, but it doesn't look like it's any easier. On this corner of the property, that looks like it may be part of the old sign. Maybe some of the bar top or stage that was tossed out. You can see the building up behind it through the trees there, branches. We may have to come back here in the winter time just to see if we can get back to the building. Because right now it's in the middle of the growing season, and man, this place is way overgrown. So here's some photos of Elvis inside the Mint Club.
Yeah, that's from the Perryman's home.
Well, we hope that you guys enjoyed our little visit here to Gladewater and the area where Elvis got his start in East Texas. This was really cool. But in future videos, if you hear me cussing a lot, scratching all over, you'll know why. I probably got poison oak here. So. But until next time, guys, have a great day. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
The Louisiana Hayride off, but we know at least 3 times for sure. They broadcast from here. And the Elvis concert in 1954 was at the local high school, and it was brand new. But the gymnasium was brand new. And look at all the people that were there.
Yeah, they sold 2,500 tickets, and actually like 3,000 people showed up.
Wow.
Me, I was there.
You were there?
Really?
Yes, I was.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
I heard that Elvis only sang 1 song.
Oh, he sang 2.
2? Okay, 2 songs. And
But
he was late.
Well, he was always late. Remember, he's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Once he made it big, we never saw him. But yeah, I was there. I remember him shaking. That's what I remember.
Really?
I was 8.
How neat. It gives me goosebumps.
Wow.
The Westmore Courts, that's a picture of how it looked then. It doesn't look that way now. And the owners told us that every night at 5 o'clock, if Elvis was staying there, he would come to the office. No room had a phone. So he would come to the office and ask Mrs. Brooking, the owner, could I please use your phone? He called his mother.
Yeah. Wow. That's neat.
This is where Tom Perryman worked. The top floor was the radio station. And of course, Tom is in all this. Here he is.
Yeah.
Here he is with different groups that came here. He was responsible for the people coming here to perform. And all of them performed out across the river.
That's Tom Perryman.
In the nightclubs.
Elvis.
Mm-hmm. There's Billy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's Billy.
Yeah, that's Billy.
Wow.
This is in Johnny Cash's autobiography. He is on the stage at our local primary school, which was brand new that year. And backstage, he and Jim Reeves, or Carl Perkins, I'm sorry, Carl Perkins wrote I Walk the Line.
Oh.
Wow.
But those pictures were made that night.
Strange RV tours will take you places with Greg and Janet's smiling faces. You might see a crazy flavored soda review or some tips to fix your RV too. So come along, won't you join us, friend, as we discover what's around the bend. Just sit right back in your easy chair. Strange RV Tours is on the air. Strange RV Tours is on the air.